At Direct Service Overhead, we know how much trust you put in the individuals who have the privilege of working on the components of your home. We understand that a broken garage door is the last thing you want to be worried about, and most of the time, doors break at the most inconvenient times. Our professionally trained technicians service 24 hours a day, and our high-cycle parts are guaranteed to make a noticeable impact on your garage door without putting a damper on your wallet. If you're looking for need of assistance maintaining your current garage door, our team has the experience and expertise to deliver the results you deserve. Give Direct Service Overhead a call today or visit us online to learn more.
Was he a little bit dinged up during the course of the year?
Yeah, he's beat up a little bit with different injuries. It wasn't quite as smooth for him as it was a year ago, even though he got hurt there towards the end of the year. But he's a physical guy. Linebackers are going to get dinged up, and he played through it. But yeah, he had several different nagging injuries.
And you changed representation here recently. Just your thoughts about maybe heading into that next phase.
That's between you hire agents so you don't lose relationships. It might seem easy to go in and walk in and say, "Hey, Hunter, how am I doing?" You don't want to lose those relationships. To me, when I came here, it was about getting the head coaching job at Arkansas, and it's still not money based. When you go out and get an agent, one that understands the whole landscape of the building, you want help to keep your assistant coaches. You want help to keep your support staff. You want help personally. And I don't look at that as being greedy or anything. I look at that as being represented. And because the bottom line is there's no agent that you get that's going to say, "Hey, university, you need to pay a man this much money." And the university says, "Oh, okay." It's called negotiation. And then the last thing I'll say is that I don't want my loyalty to the university to be tested. I've said that I would never leave the University of Arkansas, and I'm not going to. And getting an agent doesn't mean that I'm leaving. Getting a new agent has nothing to do with that. I've said this is my last job, and it's damn sure going to be that.
All right. Welcome to the Picture Network YouTube channel. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Yo. What's going on, Arkansas Razorback fans, SEC fans everywhere? Welcome to the one and only Picture Network YouTube channel. I'm Ty Hudson, host and creator of the PTN. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoyed that little intro there with Sam Pittman talking to the media. By the way, Super Chat is activated. So if you guys want to chime in, want me to read your comments, or hey, you just want to help the channel out in any way possible, Super Chat is there right here. And of course, Patreon as well. That will be updated hopefully today. I did get an email. I didn't get a chance to see the names on the list yet until early this morning, but I haven't had a chance to make any changes to the Patreon list on that thumbnail. You know, when you open up the stream and you see the list of names, that will be updated, should be updated before the next show. Hopefully before we get any more news, because this weekend was just wild with all kinds of stuff that happened. All good for the Razorbacks. Rumors are hot and heavy. I've already had a text from Arky56, my dad, about Barry Odom is now, let's see, what did he say? Odom rumored to be the OU defensive coordinator. I'm not saying it's impossible with Venables going there, but I feel like Venables, you feel like he's going to have somebody in mind already for that. I don't know that it would be, but do they have a connection? I mean, I know they're both, I don't know what connect. Maybe I'm missing something, but I've not heard that. We've had all kinds of rumors last night in Discord, this is the fun part. We get to kind of pick some of these apart. Kendall Briles was taken. What did we read last night? There were 3 or 4 hot ones in Discord. I forgot what they were. Something about Kendall Briles taking KJ Jefferson with him to Oklahoma or somewhere. Look, guys, there's all kinds of bullshit and smoke out there. Try not to fall for it all. I'm not saying Odom is impossible. We've all said that given the right head coaching offer, I could see him leaving. I don't know that I see him taking on going on to somewhere like Oklahoma that looks like, I don't know if they're going to be in a rebuild or not. I mean, fortunately for them, they still, despite all these transfers and these players are going to lose, I don't know that that's going to have as big of an impact as you would think on a school like Oklahoma, and especially they've got one more year in the Big 12. I mean, they're easily either the best. They're easily in the top 2 when you talk about talent, right, between them and Texas. It's an easier transition for a head coach. It's why these schools are so attractive to guys like that. Venables, who's been at Clemson for a while now, he's been speculated for every job since turning things around defensively for Clemson, and he's turned them all down. So Barry Odom turned down Texas. I just don't see him going. I don't know that I would see him going to Oklahoma, where in a very short period amount of time you're going to turn around and you're going to be right back in the SEC. I don't know. I'm not saying it's impossible. The Kendall Briles stuff right now is all bullshit as far as I know. I don't think there's any truth to it. And like Kelly said in our Discord, people act like it's not up to KJ Jefferson where he's not going anywhere. He's not going anywhere. Ultimately, it's his decision. He clearly loves playing here. And I don't think they're going to bring in, if they did lose Kendall Briles, I doubt they're going to bring in someone to run an offense that he couldn't run, that wouldn't be more attractive to him. I don't know. I think the RPO is so popular in college football right now, and I would have faith in him to run anything. I mean, I really do. He has turned my thoughts on him and what he is as a player completely around throughout the season, and that's just a credit to him. Do me a favor, comment, please and comment for those of you here live, and of course those of you here afterwards. Share the content, subscribe if you haven't already. We just keep seeing these numbers grow in subscribers. Patreon, I'm really excited. I think we broke 20. I think we're at 21, 22 Patreon supporters. Remember, that just goes towards helping out the channel. So does the sponsors. That's what allows me to do what I do here. That's what allows me to do this. So, yeah, sponsors, of course. Shout out to those guys. And that's Direct Service Overhead. garage door repair company. They will they repair or replace garage doors. They'll do any kind of work. Maybe your pulley system's messing up. Whatever the case, give them a call. Their link is provided for you down below in the description box. Of course, State Apparel, who sells the softest shirts in the world, all made locally right here in the beautiful state of Arkansas. You can check out their entire inventory in their link provided for you down below in the description box. They have good stuff. Sorry, I was reading a DM here. So State Apparel and Direct Service Overhead, their links are in our Patreon, are in our description box, and they're in our Discord. They have their own link page as well on our Discord. Bobby Hopper portal was active over the last 14 days or so. Well, when did we start? When did we start this page? Okay, the 29th, right? And the third guy added on our list was Jadon Haselwood. And it was so nice to be able to type on his picture, he's a hog. I don't know if that's going to be my official, that's what I'm going to put for guys that transfer if they were already on that list. I don't know. I was thinking about making their own thumbnail, but that's just too much work. I like just typing something in there. It's a lot of work, man, keeping up with all this stuff. It's hard when you're kind of when you're soloing it, when it's all up to you to deal with everything on Discord. Discord is blown up. We had I don't know how many new people join over the last 48 hours. It's been pretty great. Last night we had an influx of people. So getting down here, let me find my Monday show notes. All sorts of stuff. We kind of touched on a lot of it yesterday. I say a lot of it, not really. We didn't go into a lot of depth. SEC Mike or Michael Bratton on Twitter, he posted the bowl game, the opening SEC bowl game lines via Caesars. He just says Caesars. I guess that's okay. That's out of Vegas, right? So we'll go down that list here in just a second. Let me read live chat here. Recruiting freight train is a rolling, says Eagle. You're not wrong, my man. You're not wrong. Woo Pig. Flying Blind, how you doing, man? Scott Swindle, Woo Pig, baby. Flying Blind also says, what a coach. Big man Ross, let's get it, baby. You're going down, Penn State. Kirby Fly Guy says, Ty, go take over Ruskin and Zach up there in NWA. They're awful. You're not the first person to make that comment about me taking their slot. First off, I couldn't do it. I mean, they've established themselves up here, and look, I don't have anything negative to say. I've had Arns on this show, as a matter of fact. We had him on. What was that now? About a year and a half ago. Used to talk to him a little bit in Facebook DMs. Used to, you could text into the radio show, and I used to be a pretty active texter, but I'm not. I don't really listen to sports radio that much around here. I will listen to Tommy Kraft and Ty Richardson in the morning. I'll listen to Josh Bernaccini in the morning. I listen to more of the AM stuff. Anywhere Clay Henry is, or even Dudley Dawson, I like listening to those guys. I know Trey Biddy's on down in Little Rock, down there, the Rock or whatever, down in the Rock. Was Gentry Williams in Fayetteville this weekend? Yes, he was, and we're going to get into that also. How can you not love Sam Pittman? What'd you guys think? What he had to say about hiring an agent or hiring Sexton? What'd you think of that? A lot of people were nervous about that. Like, wait, hold up. I thought he was here to be a Razorback, not for the money. He talked about just being better represented and also making sure he can keep his other coaches. Don't ask me the connection there. I have no idea. But I believe him when he says, I'm retiring here. I believe him when he says that. And I am a never say never kind of guy, just because, especially with college athletics. I mean, we've seen over the last decade or so, I'm just in this never say never. Like, nothing surprises me, but I don't think I feel 99% positive Sam ain't going anywhere. Kendall Briles, Odom, that's different, right? And yeah, he's going to get a pay increase. He gets that 9th win. He beats Penn State in the Outback Bowl. Yeah. I mean, He's going to get a raise. I mean, he's going to get an extension. Gentry Williams was, along with another big time defensive back, was on campus, along with another big time receiver, Samuel Mbake from Georgia, 4-star wideout. What do y'all think of the agent change to Scott Swindle? I think he's a part of me wanted him to come out and be like, look, I want to get paid. I mean, really, I think it was who was in the audio? Was that Tom Murphy asking the question? Pretty sure it was. Or it was Bob, one of the two. I wanted him to come out and be like, look, man, you don't think I earned some extra dough? You tell me. You ask the Hog fans. What do you think? Yeah. It's not all about the money for me, but yeah, I think I deserve a little extra dough. And I know Hunter Yurchek doesn't play those games, as he clearly didn't with Lane Kiffin. He doesn't play those games. But look, I think I earned a little extra dough. Give me some of that cheddar. That's all I'm saying. Pay the man what he's worth. I have no problem with that. We live in a market economy, thank God. And he's owed some money. I think they're gonna have to pony up some cash. And look, that's the nature of the beast. But it's nice to know that also he's not all about the money though. He's not all about it. He's like, look, this is it, man. This is my dream job. I'm not going anywhere. He's what, 60? I do think one of two scenarios happens. Maybe one of three. I could kind of see him if he sees things kind of turning negative and in a few years, maybe things aren't going the way that he wants. I could totally see him being like, look, I think I'm going to retire. He just kind of strikes me as that kind of guy. Like, I'm not going to quit. I'm going to give them plenty of time, but I think I'm going to set this up. Maybe this will be my final year. I could see that approach out of Sam more than him bolting for another job, or the other scenario, him just getting fired. It could always turn to negative town. Remember, there were a couple of years there where people were really, really thinking that Brett Bielema was the guy, especially after year 2. Like, wow, okay, we are going to get this turned around. And then it went south. But I think Bielema was in it for Bielema. I think Pittman's in it for his players. I think Pittman's in it for the university. I think Pittman's in it for his staff. I think Pittman's in it for the fans. That's what I think. I just don't see things turning. I could be crazy. Maybe it does fall apart. I don't know. What I see, though, is the culture has changed. It's shifted in 2 years. Who saw this happening? The culture, it's been a complete culture change and shift and shock and all of it. All of the above for Arkansas football. I mean, we just wanted respect, and now it's like, you were within a couple of plays of maybe having a 9 or 10 win season in year 2. That's more than just having respect. That's fear in these other programs. And that's exactly what he's done this year in 2 years. How do you not love what you're seeing out of this? This is insane. It could all fall apart. Yes, I realize reality could come right around the corner for Arkansas. We've seen it. It's happened to us. But Hog fans, and I've said this, what all you've had to endure since Nolan Richardson, I should say we, I mean, again, obviously, for those of you who are new here, I'm born and raised in Fayetteville, obviously raised a Razorback fan, and of course, the stereotypical NWA family. We're all Cardinal fans, all that stuff, right? The only thing non-NWA about me is I don't like the Royals, and I don't like the Cowboys. That's the only un-NWA thing about me. And I haven't really bought into the Naturals hype around here either. Just, I don't know, it's kind of hard, especially when it's not even if it was a Cardinal Farm League, that might be a little bit different. I probably would be, I'd be all in if they were a part of the Cardinal Farm League. But I'm a stereotypical NWA kid, right? And what you've seen shift over the culture shock, the change, the attitude towards the football program it's just night and day. I mean, I know people that the last 2 years of Brett Bielema and then the 2 years of Chad Morris completely sucked all the Razorback football spirit they had out of them. Like they're not turncoats. They didn't go on and cheer other teams. They didn't, did they become more pessimistic? Yeah. What do they call that? Well, I don't want to make light of it, but Hog fans are just prone to being really negative really quick. And I think the same thing could be said for basketball. And I think it's because of what we've been through, right? I think it's understandable when you zoom out. If you're not a fan of the Razorbacks, when you zoom out on Razorback athletics, especially basketball, mostly basketball and football, over the last several years, for basketball, I would argue off and on for 20 years, it's just been disappointment after disappointment. You span out and you kind of understand it. You kind of get it. Like, I get it. Yeah, no, they kind of have a reason. And now and look, Hunter Yurachek deserves so much credit for this turnaround. It's been absolutely incredible. Hunter Yurachek is who I'm going to argue you got to do everything you can. The board is going to have to do everything they can to keep this guy happy. You picked him up out of Houston, and who would have thought he would accomplish what he's accomplished? Look at what they're doing with Baum, man, and like the expansion to the outfield, the statue, the hog that they named after their Dave Van Horn. You know that tickled him pink. You know he loved that. Dave Van Horn, who's a legend on campus, and Hunter's doing everything he can to keep him happy and to immortalize him, and I love that. Now, I would ask, what's next? What more are we going to do for Darren McFadden? Felix Jones. I want a statue. You know that picture of Darren McFadden, Felix Jones, and Peyton Hillis running at the camera, and they've all got a ball in their hand? They look like a bunch of boars just coming for you, coming in for the kill. You know the picture I'm talking about? I want that in a statue. Or just give D-Mac his own statue. Like, let's immortalize these people. Let's show these recruits, too, hey, look, you do something special here in the state of Arkansas. Not only are you the only show in town, but, oh, yeah, by the way, we'll do this for you. We will immortalize you. You see it in other stadiums. Why not here? Big Man Ross says, if this is Pittman's last job, I hope we start getting 10-plus win seasons and some SEC West titles so he can retire in 15 years. He'd be 75 at that age, at that timeline, maybe even a couple of titles. Ross, I'll say this. No one has ever accomplished that here. Not 2 national titles, not look, yeah, I mean, Frank Broyles got you a title and had a ton of success, ultimately becoming the AD. Lou Holtz, Ken Hatfield had some great success in the 70s and 80s. But what you're asking for, especially in the SEC and especially with conference expansion, man, you're biting off a mouthful there. I'm not saying it's impossible, only that it's pretty tough. That's a very tall order. Hell, that's a tall order even for look at Auburn. I mean, you remember when Auburn had Cam Newton with Gene Chizik, and you thought, well, they're just going to do this year in and year out, and look how that turned around for them. Not in a positive light. Ole Miss came close with Hugh Freeze, right, having some 10-win seasons and some prolonged success, and then we found out, they only got there because they cheated their asses off. Let me scroll up here. Do you think they can convince Treylon to stay one more year? Listen. This is another reason why I understand the criticism of NIL, but NIL is going to help you keep some guys, and it's going to help you lure talent in, especially in a place like NWA. I mean, let's just be honest. NWA is pretty well off, most of it. I'm not saying all of it. Yes, there's some, Southside Fayetteville is still Southside Fayetteville. You still have, parts of, you've got the kind of surrounding communities that aren't, they're not exactly living in Walmart land, but most of NWA, thanks to Walmart, Tyson, J.B. Hunt, George's Chicken here in Northwest Arkansas, thanks to these companies, you have this kind of spreaded wealth throughout NWA. It's why you have the population growth that you have here. Anything's possible with these NIL deals. And in this case, if you make him an attractive offer, I know the rumor has been he's not real thrilled about his grade, his mock draft grade. Some people have him in the back end of the draft, like the final 5 picks. Who was it? Was it CBS Sports who had him at the 30th overall pick? I don't think he's too thrilled with that, and I feel like that is low. He is someone who I think will need to go to the combine to increase that number. Make no mistake about it. No NIL deal is going to match a possible contract with the NFL. But if you could prolong it a year, make a little bit of money, and get better, and now you're going to be, I mean, really coming back next year, where would he belong in the conversation? Do you think it betters him, or is it worse? And I mean, it's too early to say right now because we still don't know who exactly is coming back, who's returning, who's transferring where. Now you've got this big-time transfer whose picture's on our red screen here. I don't know. I would lean on him going. I would say he's going pro, but you never know. I'll just say that. Not only did Bama jump us in AP basketball, but we dropped to 12. I think that's – I haven't seen that, but if that's the case, like I said, I don't know that I would put Arkansas basketball in the top 15. Been to Tampa area one time. If you and your fam likes walking to the beach looking for shells, Sanibel Island is worth staying an extra day for. Okay. Thanks for the info, Mike. Appreciate that, man. PTN Creeper. Oh, there we go. Carl, I'm sorry it's taking me a minute to get to all your questions. Comment question. Has Penn State faced anyone that plays defense with three-man rush? I don't know. I have not began my Penn State. I've done very light work on Penn State. I know they've had I think they've had 2 members off their staff. I think they're gone. Or they've got one guy that's taken a job elsewhere and another guy that's up for a head coaching gig. I don't know. Like I said, I'm way out on Penn State information. I don't know if they've played a 3-man front like we have. It's not unheard of. I mean, for a while the 3-4 was really popular. It still is in the NFL. We don't run a 3-4. You're seeing more and more teams start to run this a similar defense what Arkansas runs, and we're not the first to do it. So don't think Barry Odom is breaking any barriers here. But I would say he's the first to have the level of success that he had with it throughout the first half of both of the 2020 and 2021 seasons, and then you saw it fall on its ass in the second half of the season. Right, both years it struggled. I don't know if they've seen. I really don't, Carl. I'm sorry I can't answer your question. Why would Briles want to leave? He won't get an offense. He won't get an offense better than ours anywhere in the country outside of Bama. I don't know about that. I like Kendall, but I wouldn't go that far. I don't know that I'd go that far. I mean, what they have coming back, even without Burks, now you've got Haselwood now in the mix, who is going to be expected to fill the shoes of Burks. And I don't know that he's not the same player, but I would argue he might be able to duplicate his numbers. It's not like Burks put up. I mean, Kobe Hamilton still holds the record for receptions here, I believe. I don't think Burks broke that, did he? The regular season receptions. Didn't Hamilton have what is that record? It's like 70-something catches, isn't it? And have you heard about the cornerback that's committed to LSU that visited this weekend? Yeah, I just kind of went over that for a second. We're gonna touch on all this. I want to get down on what Michael Bratton said on SEC Mike. I want to break down what he said a little bit. Preach, Ty, says Mike. Appreciate that. Michael Kopesky says if you don't like number 12, go watch St. John's play. Arkansas is just fine. Right. Yeah, I would still take Musselman over Mike Anderson. I mean, I don't think no matter how this year ends up, I've still got some questions. This year you could fall on your face this year and not even make the tournament. I think that's absolutely – I don't think that happens, but I think it's in the deck of cards. I think you could say that for a lot of teams. A lot of teams that are even ranked right now. Well, I shouldn't say a lot. Several teams that are ranked right now. There's some major questions. LSU at number 25. I love the $sign for the S. That's genius. All right, Michael Bratton has, again, the opening bowl game lines. We have these are according to Caesars, right? Alabama at a 13.5 over Cincy. Georgia at 7.5 over Michigan. Texas A&M, Wake Forest. They have Wake Forest at 4.5. Tennessee, Purdue at 2.5. South Carolina at -5.5 over NC. That is an interesting game. I would take NC on that one. I know they've been a disappointment. I think they've had a couple of pretty big injuries. I don't know what happened. I really don't know what happened to them. But I still like their quarterback. I like the way he got off to a pretty decent start, mean, you're talking about a guy that people had on their Heisman list coming into the year. Look, that doesn't mean anything. Once you get through your season, and NC was definitely a disappointment. That could be a pretty good game. South Carolina is trending in the right direction, though. They really are. They're trending in a pretty decent direction. Maybe you would take South Carolina. I don't know. South Carolina's favored in that one at 5.5. That's a tough game. I'm kind of surprised it's not a little bit lower. Mississippi State, Texas Tech favored. Mississippi State favored at 8.5. Missouri and Army. Sorry, I'm not mentioning the bowls. I'll get to that in a second. I'm just going down what he tweeted. Missouri favored over Army at -3. Florida -6.5 with UCF. Ole Miss -2 over Baylor. Auburn -3 against Houston. And then Arkansas -4 over Penn State. Kentucky -1.5 over Iowa. Ooh, and still no LSU line listed at the moment. So that's the only one. And, of course, Vanderbilt is not in a bowl game. They're the only SEC team. So that's 10, 11, 12. That's amazing. That is so many. So right now that's let's see, Bama favored, Georgia favored, South Carolina favored, Mississippi State favored, Missouri favored, Florida favored, Ole Miss favored, again, -2 over Baylor, Auburn favored, Arkansas favored, Kentucky favored. That's 10 SEC teams right now favored. Now, those lines are going to change, and they should. There's several of these games I think are going to be really, really interesting matchups. I'll just say that. Will Haselwood be eligible for the bowl game? I don't know what to think about the Haselwood situation and his eligibility. I don't know. Sam Pittman can't even comment about him. They asked him on Monday or Sunday last night. Or was it? Yeah, it was last night. And he couldn't even comment on him. So I don't know. I didn't catch. As you can see, I did catch the post game, but I forgot what he said about Haselwood. I don't know that he was asked about Haselwood's participation. I don't think that he can. So OU not even ranked, but we play them on December 11th. Yeah, don't pay any attention to the ranks yet. Think we can get LaTerrence Welch? No, I'm not. I don't believe they get Welch. I just don't think they do. I'll say for right now, could that change? Yes. I just don't like their odds there, though. And to be honest with you, Gentry Williams is still a bit of a push, too. Gentry was pursued by Arkansas pretty actively. And, I mean, he committed to OU and all this, of course, to Lincoln Riley. Now Riley's out. And maybe Arkansas is given the benefit of the doubt to some extent simply because he visited. I don't know if he plans on taking any more visits. That would be a good question for Otis Kirk or Trey Biddy. We will build a better line than the majority of the country. Why would you want to go anywhere else to run an offense? Bryles has it good here is all I'm saying. Hard to type limited. So I'm just disagreeing that this is look, Arkansas's offense was not elite. Big Donnelly. I hear what you're saying, but they're not elite. I mean, let's not go that far. They were really good. You've got KJ. I think the better way of looking at this, to be fair, is what do you have coming back? And again, there's still some questions. If you get Ricky Stromberg back, you feel pretty good. Dalton Wagner, if he could only get the snap count figured out, I think he's still jumping off sides. I think he jumped off sides this morning when he got out of bed. That guy, I don't know how many times. I don't know what his deal was. But other than that, he's a pretty solid blocker and he's experienced. You get Stromberg back. You're going to have to figure out what's going on in some other places. You like Bo Limmer. What's going on at left tackle? Then you look at then you go to the skill position. You feel pretty good about your backs, right? They kind of didn't do what you thought they would do in the final part of the season. I would argue they probably took a little bit of a step backwards. How much of that is because of play calling? How much of that is because the opponents you're up against? How much of that was because teams keyed in on it and they wanted to force KJ to throw? I'm sure I think that was a big part of it. But you feel good about Dominic Johnson. I wonder I still feel like they're going to get another transfer out of the backfield. I feel like someone else is going to transfer out. I just feel it. We know Oglesby's in the portal. Pittman had referred to he wouldn't be the only one. We don't know if he was talking about running back specifically or just another player. But he was talking on the subject of, running backs when he made that comment. So I feel like because of that statement, there's the possibility you lose someone else there. And then do they move another guy out to wideout? Do they move? We saw them try to move Dom out to tight end. That was the most confusing thing I've seen. But he comes back to running back, and I mean, look, night day difference for him at the running back spot. Well, because he got more carries, but do they move AJ Green just to get him on the field more? Right. Okay. So then who do you have coming back at the receiver spot? You lose Burks, first round talent. Haselwood, I don't know where I would put him in the talent pool just yet. You feel pretty damn good about your production though at wide receiver, but then the question is, what do you think about the remaining part of the receivers coming back? Right, Keytron Jackson, kind of off and on throughout the year. I mean, a decent target for KJ, but wasn't consistent like you would see through the year, and that's not unexpected for a true freshman wideout. Okay, what about the transfer from Florida State? What about Crawford, the OU transfer? What about, all these guys who really didn't make a real big splash this year? You've got some questions. Tight end. Can Trey Knox become an every down tight end, and what's the deal with Hudson Henry? A lot of questions for your offense, but you do feel good about KJ. That's how I would look at it. I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that it's an elite offense, but I would argue what do you have coming back? And that's what Kendall Briles, I think he'll use that. I think he'll weigh his options. And I think Arkansas is pretty attractive when you look at it from that standpoint. Surprised that OU basketball is not ranked. We better not overlook them. I agree, Mike. I agree 115%. OU is going to be tough. You're playing them at a neutral site. Although I think Hog fans will travel well for that, by the way. According to the Penn State fan boards, I have not been to their board yet. Half their fan base is afraid of us. The other half look down their nose at us. That's all boards, though, especially with Razorback football. That's Razorback football. You see where Kutas and Powell got – yeah, we talked about that last week, Azazian. Where were you? You weren't here, Azazian. I'm kidding with you, brother. Didn't say we are elite. We just have a good – well, right. Again, Donnelly, I'm not saying that you said they were elite. You just made it sound like why the hell would he ever leave here? And I would argue that, well, there's other teams that are probably in a little bit better shape than Arkansas is offensively. You look at the talent pool, right? You look at their production and what they have coming back. I wouldn't say Arkansas. I think Arkansas is an attractive place to come back to, is all I'm saying. Rocket looked good as a receiver. He did, Edward. I agree. And I wonder if they don't move him out there. But he ended up being your second most productive player at running back. He ended up, it really became, if it wasn't Traylon in him, it was Dom John in him. And I thought he was really solid. So I don't know. Maybe they move AJ out there. AJ, who also played receiver in high school. Man, I honestly think we will steamroll Penn State. I could see a similar performance like against Missouri. This is Michael Dillon. I hear you. This should be the best recruiting class in modern recruiting era. For Arkansas, it could be. It really could be. You don't rush. Donnelly. I don't like getting into these back and forths with people in chat, but you don't rush like we did this year and be shitty. Again, I never said that. I don't know if you're if you're responding to another reply, I never said that. But not being shitty doesn't mean anything. Just means they were really damn good at running the ball. I bragged on it all year. You know that. I bragged on their run offense all year. 2023 could be really impressive. I agree. 2023 class, they're already off to a really good start. All right. So, we got the bowl lines out of the way. Sam Pittman on players opting out for the Outback Bowl as far as he knows of? Nobody. So far. Could that change? Could Burks? I mean, he's already the rumor, and again, I always take those with a grain of salt. I urge you to do the same. The rumor is he's not real thrilled with his draft grade, and I think the same thing could be said of Jalen Catalon. By the way, Catalon was left out of Pro Football Focus out of their first-round talent. or how they do their grading. They left him out. I think he was, I want to say 60, somewhere in the 60s, I think. You're starting to feel like there's a shot Catalon comes back. Burks, again, I'm just not sold that he's coming back. But does he opt out? I mean, he's been playing with injuries all year. I don't think so. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. What about Ridgeway, right? Ridgeway, who's been given as far as we know of, Ridgeway's talked about as a top 3-round draft pick. He's kind of been a surprise this year. In the first half of the season, it's like he had these great moments, but then he would faint through the game. He would fade. I'm sorry, I meant to say fade. He would kind of fade through the game and would disappear. And then we'd start to see Nichols, move in or rotate in more. And Ridgeway, and then he started to get more consistent. I always thought, man, for someone that size, first off, he's got raw strength. I think he's just a pure athlete, and he moves really well for someone that size. But I just wanted to see more of it. And then all of a sudden, these last 3 or 4 games, he was more and more consistent. You saw him even in late, fourth quarter games. He's there. He's moving well. He's getting off blocks. He wasn't always in the backfield. We saw him, go back to the A&M game where and I get that he was a true freshman, but he still manhandled that kid who was, if I remember right, a highly rated 4 or 5-star center. You witnessed a murder on national television with Arkansas and A&M with Ridgeway. I mean, he was killing that kid, pushing him back into the play. We've seen him do that off and on throughout most of the season, but it was like you got moments. You didn't get entire series. And no, there's not very many anchors, right, defensive tackles that have high production start to finish. But he still kind of faded through the games. Then we started to see him be more productive. He's not going to kill it on the stat sheet. You just have to hear what opposing players have said, opposing coaches, what some of the media is saying about this kid, and then just watching him. He passes the eye test for a 3-front interior defensive tackle. And that's the other thing too, is he's versatile. He could play. He can line up in the 3-front. He can line up as a guy who can line up in gaps. He can line up at a 4-front. That's what's attractive about it. He can do a little bit of everything. Plus his size, with those long arms, he's going to help. He's going to limit what you could do. If you throw a low ball over the line of scrimmage, odds are someone that size is probably going to take that passing lane away. So he has done a great job improving throughout the year. Been awesome to watch Ridgeway get better. Found out PSU was looking for DC going into Outback. Yeah, they lost. I think they're going to lose a couple of guys off their defense, off their staff. That does not bode well for them. I thought the same about Rocket at receiver, but he's proven himself in the backfield. I would like AJ Green there as well, but he stated he wanted to play running back. He did, and that's why he chose Arkansas. Arkansas was one of the, I don't know how many schools offered him to play running back, but I think Arkansas was one of the few that offered him to play running back. And I'll say this, I don't think he's not a natural running back. Simply because, everyone's looking at his carries and saying, well, maybe Arkansas made the wrong decision in putting him at running back. Maybe he should have played defense. Maybe he should have played wide receiver. I don't think that's why he had a lack of production this year and why Rocket beat him out. First off, Rocket is a manimal. I mean, that dude, he looks like an NFL running back. He looks like a Bama running back. He looks huge. Well, I should say an old school Bama running back. And he was good to go. But the biggest advantage that he had, undoubtedly, he was here during the spring. A.J. Green was off doing track. That's fine. I love that. Look, you love your sport. The track life is life. I've heard that from track people. I get it. That's the same reason why Isaiah Centennia is not going to be here for spring. I understand that. But I think that's why he had limited carries this year and why Rocket ended up beating him out. So, yeah. For once, I'm not in the shit house. Who's in the shit house? Oh, you're talking about, yeah. Big Dolly says it's all good, man. Or it's all good. I'm saying what you think I am, and it's hard to comment here when you don't have enough characters to type your point. I get what you're saying. I know that can be frustrating. I'll be honest with you too. I typically stay away from the really long paragraphs. I'm not going to lie. Now, if you, again, Super Chat, that's what Super Chat's for. I'll read those. But when they're like really long paragraphs, it's too much. When you've got chat going and you're trying to read all these comments, I'm going to go to the shorter comments first. But I do. It's not that I don't read the longer chats. I do. You guys know I do. Simply ACX says, I was worried at first about the wide receiver core next year, but with us getting Haselwood and three more 4-star wide receivers in this class, I feel pretty damn good about it. 3? What do you mean 3? Polybuzz says right there with you, we've got some solid talent coming out of high school at wide receiver. Ridgeway was the Illinois State heavyweight wrestling champion. Now that I didn't know. The young man knows how to engage adversaries. I did not know that. That's awesome. I knew they really liked him there, and I knew he was solid for him there, but there's always that question of, can he emulate what he did at a smaller, let's be real, smaller school, not the same level of competition? Can he emulate that here? Will what he did there, will he bring it here? That's the same question you ask for high school kids coming to college, right? Or kids, any kid transferring from smaller schools, going into the conference like the SEC, going to play at a school like Arkansas. Say what you want about Arkansas. The talent level is still significantly higher than anything non-P5 outside of maybe a couple schools, and of course where Illinois State, comparing those depth charts. So you wondered, will Ridgeway have the same kind of production or be something close? Turns out coming here is the best thing he could have done. Now he's looking like a top three round draft pick. On AJ, what would be the benefit of playing running back over wide receiver? Wide receivers get less contact, less money. You mean what would be the benefit of him playing? Oh, you're saying, so if you were asking him that, right? What do you mean? What would be the benefit of playing running back over wide receiver? Well, I mean, I think really the question is, where are you going to get the most attention? Wide receiver was really wide open going into next year. Haselwood kind of closes that gap. But now what's next, right? Whereas at running back, Traylon Smith, I believe, has another year of eligibility. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, yeah, you lost Oglesby, but let's take Traylon and Oglesby obviously off. Let's just take them off the map entirely. You still have Dominic Johnson, Raheem Sanders to deal with, right? Those are two guys from this point on you feel like are going to be running backs 1 and 2. So where are you most likely? And that's something he's going to have this conversation with the coaches. Where are you most likely to have the biggest impact? Maybe it's wide receiver. Maybe he could fight his way into that 2 deep. And I think he can. I love that kid's speed. He's got that legit track speed. We know he's fast. We saw him earlier this year. It was pretty clear that he needed more carries. Then he was putting the ball in the field a little bit too much, and he kind of understood it. Donnelly says, well, you know me. I usually have good points. No, you do. You do. I think there's just a minor disagreement. I think what we were saying, we're kind of saying the same thing, but not. I get it. I know we don't agree all the time. Just frustrating to not get the point across. Love your shit, bro. Appreciate that, Donnelly. I get comments too from people. I had someone pretty angry in my DMs a while back that was like, you didn't read my comment correctly. I mean, they were pissed. Look, I'm trying to keep up with chat. I'm trying to read everything I can. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't wear my glasses. I probably should, but I think I do pretty good without wearing them. Sometimes in a hurry, I don't read the comment the way you want me to read it. And it does come off as, kind of, I get it. Some people don't like that. They want you to read exactly what they have written. Just know that I'm always going in blind. I have no idea. Like, as I'm reading your comment, I don't proofread any comment. I just go down the aisle and read. Yeah, Ty, you taking over, bro. Taking over what? What am I taking over? Talking about Ruskin and Zach? You know what I mean, Ty? Samuel Mbake. Oh, wait. What? What'd you say earlier? See, and this is the other thing I don't like. I wish I could just type your name in and then look at everything you said so I can go back and just review it. Okay. When you said it, I was worried at first about the wide receiver core next year. Oh. Right. Yeah. All right. Ridgway's grades are what hurt him in recruiting, says Azazian. Arkansas has not been to a bowl game in 4 years. I can't see Burke sitting this game out. Well, I can't either. I agree. But, yeah, I agree. I don't think he sits it out. I'll just say that. It's crazy. I didn't realize we actually have a few players that were here for the lay. Yeah, TJ Hammonds. TJ Hammonds was here. Grant was here. Yeah, Grant Morgan was here. Yeah, there's a few. AJ really wanted to play running back, not wide receiver. Just don't understand what would tip the scales that hard. Well, running backs, they just get the ball more, and I don't know. You look at the draft. Running backs are losing value. They're losing value. All right, let's talk a little bit more about Jadon Haselwood real quick. I wanted to talk more about him yesterday, but I wanted to leave it all up to today's show to talk a little bit more in depth about him. He entered the transfer portal on November 29th, right after the Lincoln Riley stuff. And a lot of rumors around that. Don't buy into all that. I saw some stuff. Someone sent me a link that was ridiculous. We have got to learn to take everything with a grain of salt, including me. I have fallen for this stuff. I think OU fans are just really butthurt about him leaving like he did. Maybe there's something to some of the recruiting violation. That looks pretty like there could be something there. He was talking about Jadon Haselwood. He was the former number 4 overall prospect in the nation, played in 13 games as a true freshman. He ended up with 19 catches for 272 yards and a touchdown. He also carried the rock 3 times for 14 yards. In 2020, Haselwood had 4 catches for 65 yards. I think in a total of 3, it was either 3 or 4 games. But he missed, so he missed the first 6 games of the season while recovering from an injury. He also missed 2 other games later on in the year. This year, in 2021, he led the Sooners in receptions for 39 catches, 400 yards, right at 400 yards, 6 touchdowns, which he also had 3 touchdowns against TCU earlier in the year. 3 scores against TCU. Haselwood was everyone had him as a 5-star. He was a top 5 recruit in the nation, number 1 among all wide receivers. He was number 1 in the state of Georgia. I believe that was composite. So Haselwood, obviously, again, the question, I'm going to get asked this, and I'm going to answer this 5,000 times. I'm okay with it. But is he the same type of player as Burks? No. Yeah, they're similar in size. Well, he's not 225 like Burks, but he's 6'3", like 200 pounds. I don't think he has the speed, but he does have I did watch some highlights on my phone late last night and a little bit more early this morning. That dude looks like he has a really wide catch radius. I don't know how big his hands are. I don't know if they're Burke size, but he looks like, the bigger the hands and the longer the arms, the wider the catch radius. And, of course, you got to be able to catch those balls. And I think that was something he was pretty well known for out of high school. He just catches everything. Pretty clean route runner from what I was reading. Someone who, look, out of high school at that level of competition, I don't know that he was deserving of a 5-star or not. I certainly think his film says so, and what I've read about the kid says so. Has he had the kind of production of Oklahoma as they would hope? No, he hasn't. But could he do better at Arkansas? I think it's certainly possible. I think it's within the realm of possibility that he comes in and takes on that role as being wide receiver 1. It's expected. Everyone will tell you, he's gonna have 80 catches next year. I don't know, maybe he could. Considering how conservative we are, and we like to run. We're a run-first team. We're a power run, which is why I was also a little bit surprising. But then I think he saw the same thing that I sat here and told you, and a lot of you saw it. There was no clear wide receiver 2. Wide receiver room wide open next year in terms of who's going to come in and be the guy. Don't forget, you still have Crawford, the other OU transfer, in the room as well. Kendall Catalon has an opportunity coming back. I don't know that he would make a big splash, but he looked good at times during spring. John David White, I think, who apparently has his own podcast I was unaware of until like last week. I think he has another year of eligibility. He looked really good in the spring. And then, of course, Katron Jackson, right? Warren Thompson. Like, you've got options, but no one really took over. And I still believe Mike Woods' departure had an impact on this offense this year in terms of what KJ could do and, throwing the ball. So I think he saw the writing on the wall. I think he saw it at Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley's out. I ain't going to USC. He said, forget that. I'm going to go to Arkansas. And I think it's going to end up being a good pick for him. So, yeah. Clearly, I think it's a good pick for him. All right, what was our question of the day? I did not lead with that. I should have. But there was so much good news this weekend, and I have a feeling most of you are going to pick about the same, but I'm curious. Your favorite Hog news from the weekend, up until Sunday evening, what's been your favorite Hog news? A, the Outback Bowl. Some people were worried you'd get screwed over. You didn't. You got a pretty good bowl. Yeah, you probably should have gone to the Citrus. I still think they should have gone to the Citrus, but you got to be okay with the Outback against Penn State. You got to like that. And you like the matchup against 7-5 Penn State team. B, Haselwood transferring to Arkansas. I feel like B is going to be pretty popular, that's okay. It is. That's a good move, right? C, Hog basketball remaining undefeated despite a pretty good competitive game against Little Rock. D, Hogs had two big-time secretive DBs on campus, which I'm about to get into here in just a second. Or E, moving up in the college football playoff rankings. If I left anything out, be sure to, hit me up either on Discord or in our chat. So, yeah, A, B, C, D, or E. Outback Bowl A, Haselwood B, Hog basketball remaining undefeated C, D, Hogs with their two secretive DBs on campus, or E, moving up in the CFP poll. So you tell me, A, B, C, D, or E. And Austin says A. Definitely A, says Austin. Will, or Hogwired, says A. It's a historic program, and their fans are scared of us, says Will. Will Knox, who I think is new to our Discord, by the way, B and D, so he's picking Haselwood and D, the DBs being on campus. I like that. I mean, I want one answer. I'd prefer one answer, but I like that he's kind of torn between those two. A named person says, I actually wrote an article for my school paper about this. Hopefully it'll be published by lunch. More specifically, A and B, he says. Eagle or Mike says B and D. I would prefer one, but again, I appreciate it. Our recruiting has so much momentum right now. The Hog train is rolling. And Haas, once again, I'm going to say I love his takes. I don't know if he's in here or not, but I love his takes. I'm going to say Haselwood, but damn, it ain't all the above, my dude. It is. What a weekend. It was a hell of a weekend. Dante Marine says, I say D because it shows where our program is going and faith recruits in the recruits that they have in the program to give us a shot. Recruiting is the lifeblood of a program. Dante Marine, that might be the comment of the day right there. And then Dragon Slayer 1273 says A respectable bowl game. And shows how after this season we are a force not to be underrated, also having a legit chance to play with anyone, well, besides Georgia, says Dragon Slayer. Pretty good. I like that. And one more 24 says B. He likes the Haselwood news. So there you go. Eagle says, you see Pit Boss won. I did. He won the AFCA Coach of the Year in Region 2. Congrats to Sam Pittman on that. I think he should be Coach of the Year, but I feel like if they don't give it to Smart, they'll give it to Kiffin. Look, I think we could all agree going 10-2 at Ole Miss is pretty insane, pretty good. Their first 10-win season ever. Right? Isn't that right? I swear I thought Hugh Freeze had a 10-win. Simply says, yeah, who the hell is this silent commit? I watch these streams all the time, but I'm not sure who Ty's talking about. I know it's not Mbake. Polybus says A. And then Michael Kopesky says Outback Bowl, followed by a close Haselwood. Okay. All right. And Michael also says Hogs need an elite linebacker, another really good cornerback as well. No one says all the above. F, all the freaking above, says Robert Ainsworth. What's up, Robert? All right, your super secret players on campus. Super secret. The mystery recruits on campus. Terrence Welch, 4-star defensive back, currently committed to LSU, was in town. He'll be making his decision on December 15th. And then Gentry Williams being the other. He's a 4-star DB, currently committed to OU. Arkansas recruited him pretty hard. I don't feel good about either of them right now. Now, maybe that'll change. I have to say this when we talk about these kids possibly flipping. Centennia, I never felt really good about, and they ended up being wrong. Centennia's all hog. Good Lord, the receiver room. Holy crap. I mean, I'll say this. If everything goes as planned, this receiving room, and let's say you get into fall camp, nobody leaves, that is going to be the most talented that room has ever been. I think you could make the argument this year that it was damn close simply because of Burks. But now you move forward, and I would argue that, you go back to Jarius Wright, Joe Adams, Greg Childs before his injury, and I know Chris Gregg was a tight end, but I think he still kind of belongs in that category to some extent. He was more of a receiving tight end anyways. But that was Kobe Hamilton was in that room. That was a ridiculously loaded room. I think you could be somewhere near that. Maybe you were this year. If you get Burks back, no doubt. No doubt. That is no freaking doubt that that's the most talented that room has ever been. But I think now going forward, especially with Warren Thompson, who is a highly touted player going into Florida State, Katron Jackson, big-time 4-star, Texas. We know Sarkisian wanted him pretty bad. He picked Arkansas. I think Crawford, who was a pretty high – he was a legit – I think he was a high 3 or low 4-star, but – someone who you feel like has a high ceiling or at least a higher ceiling than what he's shown through his college career. And then you add Haselwood. I mean, former 5-star, number 1 wide receiver. The potential of that room, I'll say maybe that's the proper way of putting it. The potential in that room is insane. And if any of those guys come close to what you think they're capable of doing, oh my gosh, with KJ and the running backs, I feel like the offensive line is only going to get better. May not, but I feel like they could. Yeah. Name the last elite linebacker at Arkansas. Dre Greenlaw. Yeah, Dre Greenlaw. It'd have to be Greenlaw. I don't know. I guess elite is. I mean, they've never had a first round. I'm trying to think. Was Petty? Where did Petty get drafted? Caleb Miller was really good. You remember him? He got drafted by the Bengals. Tony Bua was really good, but he was a hybrid safety linebacker combo. Samuel Jabutu, Montreal Spate was really good. I thought he retired a little early in the NFL, but Brooks Ellis, multi-year starter. I don't know. I guess elite's a little subjective, but I've had some really good linebackers over the years. Welch is 50-50. Sam Carter has been on him. He has. You're right about that. Welch has been Welch. I would say if you asked me between the two who you felt most comfortable with getting would be Welch. But I still just don't like their odds with him. Spate was awesome. I was just talking. Oh, were you? Yeah, Spate was incredible. That his year one. Now you remember he was a JUCO. Year one, people were asking why the hell we offered this guy. Year two, look at the difference. That's what quality coaching can do. That's what quality coaching can do, right? Spate got hurt a lot. He did. He was injury prone, but there's no linebacker that has a healthy career. There's no player that has a healthy career, but I still felt like, I don't know, maybe it was injuries why he retired. I really don't remember. I know he went to the Redskins and he kind of bounced around a little bit. I don't know, but he was great at Arkansas. I know that. Mbake was not a Nelson song in the 90s. I don't get it. You lost me. I don't know what you're talking about. Donnelly says, I'm impressed with the Haselwood get. You and me both. All right, that's going to do it. I do appreciate you guys. I feel like I left something out. I'm going over my notes here. I did. Net rankings were released today. Before I move on, the net rankings were released. And those of you who were like, Ty, I don't know how. Why are you so, you got to be bigger on the Razorbacks. What are you talking about? Arkansas comes in at 44th. Behind Belmont. Behind Monmouth. Behind Providence. Behind UAB. Behind, scrolling up here, Loyola's Loyola Chicago. You got to give them credit, even though they're 7-2. But of all the SEC schools, I thought I had it typed out. I don't. Hang on. The teams above Arkansas in the SEC, LSU's at 2, Tennessee's, LSU's at 11, Alabama 15, Auburn 16, Florida 22, Kentucky at 39. This will change. I don't know where they're at on KenPom. I didn't check that yet. This will change after Oklahoma. I do think that there are a couple of these teams might, by the end of the year we'll have a little bit different view. I kind of wonder what Little Rock does. There's someone I think, they're worth keeping an eye on. Northern Iowa, we'll kind of keep an eye on them. Of course, Cincinnati and K-State were I thought respectable wins, definitely over Cincinnati, considering how physical they are and their history. I think they're going to be a pretty good team and a team that probably could go on a tournament run. I don't know why they're not undervaluing that win. It seems to me like no one's giving that game much value. Maybe they know something I don't, but based on what I've read, what I saw, they look like a tournament team to me. Now, again, like I said, maybe Arkansas is not a tournament team. Maybe we're all in, and yet they haven't shown us much. 3-point offense is not good. 3-point defense is terrible. They're not great. They're not a great shooting team. They're not a terrible shooting team outside, but they can be a lot better out in the perimeter. There's still a lot of things they got to get figured out. I think you feel pretty comfortable with the 6 rotation they have. They can go to 9. You feel pretty confident they can go to 9 consistently if they choose to, depending on the matchups. A lot of work left to be done. I felt a lot better last year getting ready for conference play than I do right now. I'll just say that. I don't know I don't know the rest of the top 25 like these guys do, obviously. I only watch what I can watch, and I mostly keep an eye on Arkansas. But I would have a hard time if I were filling out where I would guess Razorback basketball should be. If I didn't know anything about any preseason rank or any rank up until now, I would say maybe they're top 25. I don't know. They haven't played like a top 25 team. Now, we've seen them play halves. If they put together, they don't have to play a complete game to dominate. They don't. But play 3/4 of a game like we've seen at times this year, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. They've got to come out hotter. They have to come out hotter. And they did this last year a little bit. They came out, the first 5-6 minutes, they really took a little bit to get going. But then they pulled away, and then the second half, would be all that you needed to see, and Arkansas would eventually just take the game over. And that's kind of what's happening this year. But there's more troubling signs. And I don't know. I do like what I've seen out of Likes and JD Notte. When you talk about their positives, again, their negatives are really glaring right now. Too much eyeball, right? Too much eyeball. Need more team ball out of those two. And I think maybe they'll get that figured out. I do think if there's one guy, now, of course, you guys know how I feel about Tony. Tony's MVP right now for me. Tony's MVP for me. I mean, he's been great this year. He's been the most consistent at what he does. And he's just every game, it's like he does something I didn't know he could do. Pretty decent shot. I mean, I wouldn't trust him with the ball outside in the perimeter. I wouldn't trust him taking a bunch of 3-point shots, but I could understand a couple, and I think he could probably knock down 1 or 2 a game if he wanted that to be a part of his game. But just can be dominant, crashing the boards, both offensive and defensive. But he's been a second-chance shot monster for the Razorbacks this year. Oh, and he's getting like 13, 14 points a game, while also averaging, 7 rebounds or so or something like that. But if there's one particular player, I want to see Jackson Robinson. I want to see him find his way into that 7-man rotation. Imagine him coming off the bench when Likes or JD Note are taking too many junk shots outside, too many contested shots outside, and then you're able to rotate him in and he gets comfortable. His his shot period is beautiful. I don't know much about his mid-range game, but I like what he can do outside. Now defensively, I think there's some questions there a little bit. He's not as high tempo of a three-point defender as those two guys are. Maybe he's a liability. I don't know enough about him defensively because we just haven't seen enough of him. But I'd love to see him come off the bench. You talk about spurt ability, get him 8 or 9 quality minutes on the floor. He's the guy to me. He kind of feels like he might become the key to help them get things figured out offensively beyond the arc. That's the guy I want to see just blow it up the rest of the year. So, yeah, all right. Whew, we had a lot to talk about. I hope I left plenty of meat and potatoes for Wednesday. And then Friday, what does our schedule look like? What do we have going on? I've been so swamped, busy with trying to get this show figured out. I know we've got basketball tomorrow night. There will be a post game. That is the plan. There will be a post game for tomorrow. You're going to take on Charlotte December 7th, tomorrow, 8 p.m. on SEC Network. But then we got to get ready for Oklahoma on the 11th. Oklahoma right now, are they still one loss? I think they are. Oklahoma basketball, really surprising people. First-year head coach. I don't have their I'm looking up their what have they done this year? Are they still? Yeah, they're 7-1. They have wins over at UCF, Central Florida, and Florida. It's kind of funny. They played Florida. They played UCF on the road, then they came back and had to play. And apparently there weren't a lot of people there for that game, so it wasn't like Florida faced this hostile environment. But they beat Florida. They've got Butler next. That's tomorrow. Ooh, that might be a pretty good game. What's Butler doing this year? What's Butler? Are they as good as nope? They're they're not. I mean, they're 5-3. They have lost to Michigan State, Houston, and A&M. But right now, Oklahoma and Arkansas. That is the game. I think for everyone. Oklahoma is favored to win this thing, 62% according to the Basketball Power Index. So this is the game, right? If you wanna start to feel a little bit better, I will make my pick for Arkansas basketball and what I think they can do after they play the Elon Fighting Teslas. See what I did there? But after that game on the 21st, we'll talk about what they can do in conference play and how I feel about their chances, how far I think they can go in tournament play. I don't know that my mind's going to change a ton between now and December 22nd or 21st, but it could. You go undefeated, especially after, Kansas State, Cincinnati, and Oklahoma, maybe you feel a little bit better. Obviously, your net rankings and all these things will go up, right? These quad wins and so on and so forth you'll start tallying them up once you get into conference play. And so, yeah. All right. Spurt ability, that's right. Are we going to have a team that plays up or down to competition? I don't know. I don't know if my heart could take it. That has been the question. Why are they – it seems like they've played down to some of these opponents or played at their level when you feel like they should be way up here. But then again, you look at some of these games in the second half, Arkansas just pulls away and makes it look easy. Throughout all their troubles, guys, they're still undefeated. And if it's like they still have a couple things to figure out. They get them figured out, this team could have a great year. So, all right, that's it. Shout out to all you guys. Live chat, all you watching after the fact, and, of course, to the Patreon supporters. I'm hoping to have that list updated before the Wednesday show. Well, hopefully before tomorrow night. But if not, before the Wednesday show. Live viewers, let's see, some Patreon supporters, sponsors, all you guys. Wouldn't be doing this without you. So, Woo Pig, and I will see you tomorrow night. Go Hogs.
Was he a little bit dinged up during the course of the year?